You are listening to the Calm Down podcast, the podcast where candid, thought-provoking, and rare conversations happen while amplifying people's stories around the world. Here, we take it one day at a time and also rant on simple causes people don't observe or are just oblivious to. I am your host, Viola Ekene. I am an on-air personality, podcaster, YouTuber, and content creator. Welcome to episode 26 of the Calm Down podcast. I hope you are doing absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for clicking the play button to listen to this episode. I don't ever take you for granted. I would never take you for granted. Thank you so much. So this episode officially marks the beginning of the new series on the podcast called Stories Around the World, where people share their stories with us, things they've gone through and overcame, maybe things that are currently going through or an event they witnessed happen. And we'll be starting off this new series with an interesting story. Okay, so do you remember there were two explosions that occurred at the port city of Beirut, the capital of Lebanon, on 4th August 2020? When I saw that blast, God, it shook everything in me. I was like, Jesus Christ. I was like, oh my God. So guys, I was so happy when someone agreed to share that story with us, someone that was there, that witnessed that event happen, and that is the story that is going to be featured in this episode. And also, this is to remind you that if you want to be a part of this, if you want to share your story on the Calm Down podcast, please, a story prompt has been created for you. All you have to do is to click the link in the description box of this episode and download your story prompt. I noticed, and I know that some people might not be really comfortable telling their story. I understand that not everybody can sit down and record and talk about their story the way that they want to without missing out, some important info that they do not want to miss out. I understand that some people are more comfortable with writing their story. So that is beautiful, right? In case you feel more comfortable writing your story, the most important thing is that that story is told by you, okay? In case you feel more comfortable writing your story, all you have to do is to just write it. You can use MS Word, write it, attach it as a file, and send it to my mail, ekeneviola@gmail.com. My email address will be in the description box of this episode, so you can always send it your story. So either you want to record it yourself or you want to write it, just you have the platform to do that. You can always do that. If you want to record it, a story prompt is in the description box for you to record the story. It is a guide for you to record your story and everything you should also take note of. If you want to write it, beautiful, write it and attach it as a file and send it to the email address that will be in the description box of this episode. Okay, so I don't want to talk too much. So we're heading over to the Stories Around the World feature on this particular episode. For any episode of the podcast where there will be stories around the world, there wouldn't be the other segments, which are the reality check and the common sense rule. So yeah, let's get right into this person's story.
My name is Nabih Boulos, and I'm 39 years old, and I'm a Jordanian American, and I'm in Lebanon because I'm the correspondent for the Los Angeles Times. My story begins, or at least in this case it does, with the Beirut blast, which happened on August 4th. The blast occurred when a fire began in a warehouse in the industrial port that is the sort of entrance to Beirut. And a fire began there in a warehouse, and then it spread to another warehouse where 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate were stored. As a journalist, I saw the fire unfold in real time. I was on the balcony of my house, and I should say of my apartment, which overlooks the industrial port, and I saw a fire. And I proceeded to film it and tweet it out, because as I said, I'm a journalist. And then when the fire seemed to spread and become a bit stronger, I went on my motorcycle, and I decided to go take a closer look. And to be honest with you, I don't really remember what happened after that. It seems, as far as I can tell, that I had arrived at the highway just near the blast. The port basically lies beside a major highway, and I think I had gone to that highway to try to get a closer look, and I must have been filming there when the blast occurred, but I don't remember. And it seems that I had lost consciousness. When I came to, I was very disoriented. I had very little memory. I'm still concussed, I believe. And we basically, I managed to eventually call my fiance, who came and basically took me to a hospital, and I got checked. And indeed, I think I was saved by the fact that I was wearing a helmet. I honestly don't remember, but in any case, I'm extremely lucky. The injuries I sustained included a concussion, as I said. I'm wounded on the top of my head. My right eye was closing up and bruised. I must have had a very, very strong hit to the head because, as I said, I was unconscious. And I seem to be doing okay right now, even though I'm a bit bruised. But overall, I seem to be quite fine. And of course, this is extremely lucky because more than 178 people have died so far, either killed outright in the blast or died eventually from injuries sustained by the blast. And really, I think about 6,000 people were injured, including myself, of course. But the situation is dire in that regard, and really, I was extremely, extremely lucky.
Thank you so much, Nabi, for sharing that story. I am so grateful and so happy that you are healthy, like you're healed and hearty now, and you're just okay right now. Because I could have imagined how traumatic that must have been for you, just watching everything go in flames, and you probably thinking whether you're still conscious or unconscious. I could imagine that transition, honestly. Thank you so much, Nabi, for sharing your story. And if you'd love to support the victims of the fire, because a lot of families were displaced, a lot of lives were also lost, please, if you'd love to support, I'll have a list of NGOs that are catering to victims of this fire in the description box. It will be in the episode show notes. So all you have to do is to click the link that has the episode show notes, and you can see a list of NGOs that you can support, especially financially. That would be so much appreciated. Please, guys, do that. Abi is an LA Times reporter, right? He also said that while he was talking. He also has a written version of his story on LA Times news website. I'm going to leave the link to that article in the description box in case you want to read the article more. You can always click on it and read more of it. Thank you so much again, Nabi, for sharing your story. I couldn't thank you enough. Thank you so much. And if you want to be a part of this, if you want to share your story on the Calm Down podcast, please, all you have to do is to click the link in the description box. I have already created a story prompt that will help you record your story. But if you are someone that would be more comfortable writing your own story, because I understand that not everybody can actually talk, narrate things, I totally understand. Please, all you have to do is to write that story. Go straight to the point, write your story, send it, attach it as a file and send it to ekeneviola@gmail.com. My email address will be in the description box. Send it. I will read it out, okay? In a subsequent episode of the podcast, I will read it out, okay? So that is why I need you to write that story. See, by sharing your stories, we connect with people that have gone through similar experiences. How did you feel listening to Napi's story? I'd love someone else to feel that way listening to your story, okay? It mustn't always end in happily ever after, because in reality, not all stories do. The most important thing is that you are telling that story. I feel like some people do not understand the importance of telling your own story, telling and owning your own story yourself, until someone else tells that story and redefines your story for you. That thing is so painful. Okay, guys, so that is it for episode 26 of the podcast. Please, on any podcast listening app or platform you're using to listen to this podcast right now, please, I need you to do me a favor. Please give this podcast 5-star ratings, drop a review if you enjoy my podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, drop a review, subscribe, share, and tell someone about the Calm Down podcast today. This will also increase the visibility of this podcast. I would really appreciate that so much. Also, if you'd love to support this podcast for production of new episodes and also expansion, getting new microphones, setting up and all that, please, you can always do that. You're so much welcome and it's so much appreciated. You can do that on Shukran, okay? Shukran is a platform that you can support your favorite content creators to encourage them in their content creation journey. All you have to do is to support with any amount for as low as 100 naira or $1, or you can even support in Kenyan currency, Okay, so all you have to do is to click the link. The link to my Shukran account will be in the description box. Click on it, and any amount you can always support, or you can support monthly using our Patreon account by becoming a patron of this podcast, or using my Anchor support link. And also, if you enjoyed this episode, I'd love you to drop me a voice message. Please drop me a voice message, okay? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Tell me how this episode made you feel. If you felt really happy, the link to also drop that voice message is also in the description box. And finally, please follow on social media. Instagram at the_calm_down_podcast. If you want to tweet at us on Twitter, you can always use the hashtag calmdownpodcast to tweet, so I can track all the tweets. Of course, our social media links will also be in the description box. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope to see you in episode 27, and make sure that you take care of yourself. And if you want to send in your stories for this special series, please, your stories are so much welcome. Have an amazing day. I love you so much. I really love you.